No. Hey, welcome in everybody during the MLS Monday by Scarves and Spikes. Tyler, Henry, and Sydney here with you as we
Match day
here.
22 of the books already.
Yeah, it was
It's hard to
God,
believe.
this season is
Jeez,
freaking flying by, man. It is
it
kind of
has.
blowing my mind, but
And good for some. Good for some. Not as good for
some, yeah.
others.
Some making leaps, some falling behind. We got plenty to talk about,
not
obviously.
making leaps.
Yeah, definitely some not making leaps at all, and it's frustrating, but that's a topic for another day.
Yes.
But no, we'll talk everything in the league. We'll talk now that silly season's upon us. We have transfer rumors to talk about, and obviously, again, prayers for Stephen Fry. Good to see him posting on social media saying, "I'm okay. I have no idea what happened, but I'm okay."
Yeah,
it's always a good sign.
Yeah,
but
good. Good to see. Good to see. I'm doing well, Henry. How are you? Match day 22 is over.
What was that? Oh yeah, Match day 22 is over. It was a fun one. 4th of July weekend. You had a few exciting games, and I'm ready to break those down. But I want to bring something up that I learned today in a staff meeting with MLS Spanish, our team. Apparently, I think it's this week that it's supposed to happen. But there will be a 5-story tall inflatable pigeon floating down the Hudson River. Look, at first when my boss Ariel told me this is I was like, you're joking with me, right? And it's like, no, this is an actual, because apparently, the pigeon is their mascot and everything. I'm like, so y'all are gonna have a big freaking pigeon floating down the river.
110%. This thing ends up at this year's Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Dude, it has to. Guaranteed. It's their home turf.
Yeah.
I said it was for the Champions Cup. I meant for the Club World Cup. Obviously, the semifinals and finals are being held at MetLife Stadium. So a little bit of a marketing play by the local team, or one of the local teams, New York City FC, to get their brand out there, get their name out there. And I saw the Ghostbusters jokes online, guys, about it, but I'd love to see this in person. Obviously, it will happen over the next few days here, as again the Club World Cup semifinals and finals are at MetLife Stadium. But that's like the second biggest. Well, yeah, that's like the second biggest news that
you don't make a 5-story pigeon though and use it one time. You don't do that. It's absolutely going to be. It's going to be like Pikachu. In the Thanksgiving Day parade. It's going to be there from here on out.
It parades after every NYCFC win. That's what I want to see.
Right. It's gonna be a permanent display outside of I would say Allianz Field, Etihad Park, I think it's called.
Yeah.
The new stadium that's opening here in a few years. It's gonna be a permanent display. This big inflatable pigeon. I saw the voice of NYCFC.
Like the noodle arm guys.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I saw online the voice of NYCFC, Glenn Crooks. He's like, I refuse to call NYCFC the Pigeons. I refuse to use that nickname. But it's like, not
get ready to learn pigeon, buddy.
Yeah,
you gotta lean into it at some point, man.
No, exactly. So NYCFC in the news for that.
It's so funny. They have a whole schedule for like at what time it's gonna be.
Where to see it? Where to see it?
What is this, man?
What could go wrong?
Can we have? Can we in Atlanta have like, I don't know, a freaking falcon on the MARTA or something? Yeah. Like something similar to this. What would be the equivalent for Atlanta?
A giant spike.
A giant spike on the MARTA.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would look. Yeah. That might come across a little awkward looking at some point.
Now that you say that, I can see it. Just got to be very careful with the design, I'm sure. Well, that's one way that NYCFC was in the news this past day. Another way they were in the news is a signing. Tom Bogert reporting that Nicolás Fernández is signing from Elche and La Liga Dos as their new number 10 on a DP contract. 7 goals, 10 assists in 2024-25 season across all competitions. NYCFC, really rolling the dice and looking to move up the standings here and really position themselves for future success. Right now, they're 7th in the table, 31 points. But that whole group of teams, guys, from 5 to 8 is really cramped up. I would say from 5 to 10, really. 8 teams separating those 6, or 8 points, I should say, separating those 6 teams. And NYCFC, guys, making a big push to get themselves even further up the table. I mean, they string a few wins together. I mean, they may be right back in the hunt for a top 4 spot. So, Henry, I guess I can start with you. Just what do you know about Nicolás Fernández and first impressions? How do you see this happening for NYCFC?
Well, he's a DP. That should tell you everything. They have the faith that he is going to be a guy that can basically be the successor to Maxi. Because, I mean, after all, the guy is, what, like 38, 39 at this point?
Something like that.
You can only have him and depend on him for so long, though it seems like he is eternal. But yeah, this guy in the middle of his prime, so 25-year-old Argentinian attacking midfielder. Though if you look at his transfer market page, it has him playing like almost every position on the field. He could play center forward, he could play winger, he can play left back, like whoa. But yeah, he's primarily going to be your attacking midfielder, and he comes from Europe. He comes from a league that is comparable, maybe a little bit under the level in La Liga Dos. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he should be able to bring that spark of creativity to NYCFC and help them kind of boost their chance creation a bit. As you said, they're making a push into the playoff positions. They recently, after this past weekend, they jumped into 7th place, jumped over their rivals, New York Red Bulls. And, you know, like you said, it's pretty tight for some of those playoff spots when we're talking about between the 7th and mm-hmm. actually really the 8th and 4th place spots. You have 8 points, but with 13, 14 games left, plenty of time for that to shift around. And they're obviously banking on Nicolás Fernández being a key part of that and helping them continue their attack and bring in some of these pieces that have really shown this season, like your Hannes Wolves. And Alonso Martinez, obviously. So they have a really interesting team. I'm interested to see how this all comes together.
And quickly before Tyler, you have your say on this. 2 things I want to call out. Elche was, like I said, in La Liga Dos, the Segunda División in Spain, but they gained promotion. They finished 2nd on the table. They're automatically promoted to La Liga, and Fernandez certainly a big part of that. But Henry, you talk about chance creation. You look at NYCFC. Although they are in 7th, they've only scored 27 goals. I mean, so this is a very intentional move for NYCFC to, like you said, create chances for Martinez, create chances for your other forwards like Wolf, like you mentioned. This is a big statement of intent for NYCFC saying, hey, we're not satisfied with where we are. We need to really kick things into high gear because, if you hit a bad stretch of form, it obviously won't be available right away. But if you hit a bad stretch of form, you could be out of the playoff picture.
Yeah. And I think this is one of those kind of signings that if you were to solely look at the numbers over the past, like, let's say 3 years, it doesn't tell the whole story. And that's where I get so iffy looking. Like anytime there's a signing coming for whoever, whether it's another MLS team or Atlanta United or whatever, I always think like you can't just look at the goals and assists. Those are great, especially if you can put a ratio on it. And it's like, oh, these are Joseph Martinez 2018 numbers. Whoo, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But you can't always look at it. But you look at what this guy's done over the past 3 years, and he's progressively gotten better. And like his first year, I'm not a part of La Liga Dos. I'm not like involved in it to that degree, but I can imagine what the fans were saying about him in 2022 and 2023 based on his numbers, because I've heard the same thing about guys like Alexi Miranchuk and Miguel Almiron this time around and others. But then something happened, whether it's individually him, the roster changing for the better that complements him, whatever it may be. But I mean, you go back to 2020, let's see, 2022, This guy had 2 assists in 19 appearances, and that was it. That's not good for number 10. And then 2023, 2024, 1 assist but 4 goals in 42 appearances. So maybe not much better, but getting going. And then this past year, though, pretty off the chain. 7 goals, 10 assists, and 36 appearances. So those are solid numbers.
And
that's essentially averaging a goal contribution every 2 matches. So those are numbers that if NYC, especially, number 10s, especially technical number 10s, tend to thrive in a place like Yankee Stadium. So small, you have the ability to, maybe not have to worry so much about space, and they can play through folks where other players can't. I think it's a really good opportunity for both him and the team.
And then just quickly, you talked about his numbers and talking about how you can't take too much into them. The big question is, of course, how does he adjust to MLS? MLS is a different league than obviously La Liga. You're coming over from Europe. He's from Argentina, of course, so I'm sure that he has definitely that going for him. For Argentina, I feel like there's a little bit similarities with MLS when it comes to physicality, but new culture, new language, new country, new city, New York City. How does he adjust? How does he integrate himself into that attack for NYCFC? It's going to be everything because if you're NYCFC, you're going to want him at his best right away. So Nicolás Fernández, according to Tom Bogert, is a done deal coming in from LGS, NYCFC's new number 10, 7 goals, 10 assists across all competitions for LG last season as they gain promotion to La Liga.
Yeah. And then jumping over to the West Coast, we have the Quakes doing some things. And I'm very curious to kind of see where this goes, because it's one thing to move on and open up a spot, but they've been busy ever since the preseason, right? Like there have been so many changes. But the Quakes loaning Hernan Lopez out to Argentinos Juniors.
No pressure.
right? Just a little bit. Yeah. But it opens up the DP slot. So it's like now where do you go? Where do you go from there? What's the next step?
Yep. This is a team that, they've been decent. I mean, it's been a low bar for the Quakes, right, over the past few years, considering the seasons they've had. But they've been there, but not quite there. They're not an elite team in the Western Conference, so they're hoping that when they lend out Lopez, helps out the DP slightly, as he said. But and by the way, Lopez, like we said, no pressure. I mean, you're going to the club where your uncle, only one of the greatest players of all time, grew up, has his name all over the stadium, as Tom Bogert noted a few days ago. But this is a San Jose team, guys, that, again, isn't among the elite in MLS, have made a big step forward, of course, under Bruce Arena in MLS. So I'm interested to see what he does with that DP slot. How does he roll the dice? How does he make this team better? He's under pressure to improve this team and get them over the hump. They're only 5 points out of the top 4 spot in MLS Western Conference. And again, it's a low bar since this has been just a dreadful team in past years. But I'm going to pull it up, and Tom Bogert actually mentioned this. It just kind of speaks to, guys, the dire straits that the Quakes have been in over the past few years, just how bad they've been, right? So the Quakes, as I mentioned, 6 in the West. They haven't been this good since 2012. That's the last time they finished in the top 5 of the Western Conference, and that year they won the Supporter Shield. Outside of that, they haven't finished top 5 in the Western Conference for the past, 13 years. Have a great chance to do that. Yeah, exactly. Have a great chance to do that now, presumably bringing in a new DP. So really interested to see what Bruce Arena does, how he plays this. He's as good at talent development, certainly with talent identification, as anyone in the league. So he has a chance to truly bring in a player that fits his playing style on the pitch. Yeah, 2012 is something else, man. Not finishing in the top 5 is pretty incredible.
It's a wild stat for a team that came into MLS when it did and basically set the league on fire at that time.
It shook up the league.
Nice. Good one. But yeah, this is looking for a change there. Now, San Jose, does not have a problem scoring goals. Fun fact, they're actually the team with the second most goals in MLS so far this season.
Why?
41. I wonder why. It might have something to do with that front two they have of Chicho Arango and some guy named Joseph Martinez.
I've heard of him. Heard of both of them.
Yeah, they have some
18 goals between the two of them, man. It's so frustrating. I was going to keep it in. I'm not. Oh, my God. Anyway, go ahead, Henry.
Wait, I mean, did you know that Joseph isn't a DP for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been going well for them. The thing with Hernan Lopez, he was on their roster as a designated player, and he's been beset by injuries this season, but he's also he just hasn't really produced to the level that I guess merits a DP slot.
Yeah.
Not this season, not last season where he played 24 games and really only managed 6 goals and 2 assists. They wanted more out of that. And I mean, when you have Christian Espinoza, who can play what the number 10 role is, he's been playing winger recently, but he can play that creative position. If you could use that Hernan Lopez DP slot on someone else that can bring another dimension to your attack, then suddenly you're looking at potentially the scariest attack in the league. Just because if they're already scoring goals, improve that. And so, because their issue right now would be the defensive side of things. They concede several. That's why they're not in the top teams in the West, because they've scored 41 goals, but they've conceded 33.
Right.
So I think at the end, what they're playing at this point is, let's just go flood other teams with goals, right? Overwhelmed with offensive power, and that's how you'll get the wins. And I think for them it'll work because of who they have right now and who they could potentially bring in.
I agree. This could be a scary team depending on what they do with that DP slot. So, yeah, Bruce Arena has some decisions to make in the upcoming summer transfer window.
I think they just have to make the right move, and you instantly become, I think, a top 5 team, and I don't say that lightly. What cracks me up is the fact that they're sitting in 6th place in the West right now on 28 points. They have 4 teams below them all the way down to 10th place, sitting on 26
Oh
points.
my gosh!
Wait, are you for real? Oh
literally
my gosh, dude.
It's wild how
There's
close.
a 4-way tie for 7th.
One of those teams is going to miss the playoffs, probably.
100%. And you know what's weird is, like, you have San Jose, then right behind them it's LA, Houston,
Colorado. My money's on Colorado.
Crazy.
To be fair.
They've been dropping off hard. But yeah, San Jose is definitely in the thick of things. I mean, you're 2 points below Seattle. You are 5 points below Portland in that 4th spot, which all these teams are vying for at this point, is the home playoff spot. Yeah, there's plenty to play for San Jose, and whoever they bring in will certainly help them do that.
Portland haven't been great either. I mean, they've been kind of there, but I mean, they could just as easily be leapfrog as a top 4 team if San Jose can get this DP slot right. So, as a team that I'm looking for, that's going to have one of 8 teams that's going to be a very interesting summer transfer window coming up here on July 24th. And we'll talk about that, obviously, the transfer window, any more big moves, big rumors coming up. But looks like we have a few more quick hitters that we want to get to as well before we move on.
One of them is a robbery.
Yeah.
Straight up robbery, in my opinion. Patrick Agyemang. Darby County, really?
I mean, they're paying him. So they're paying them. So hey,
I know.
Yeah, I mean, take the money and run, dude. What? That's like one of those FIFA. Hi, Stella. What's up?
Stella.
It's like one of those.
Hi.
When you're playing EAFC career mode and you have like the easy like transfer settings and they're like, oh yeah, you're a 60 rated striker. I'm offer it's $8 million for him. Why not?
He did not have a good Gold Cup, by the way. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's not impressed me. He's not impressed me. I mean, he's good at one thing, and it's that he's big and he can be a target forward, and in that sense, maybe. But to me, he's too one-dimensional to be worth $8 million, and he showed it. I mean, he started what? I think he started every game in Gold Cup, didn't he? and wasn't very impressive to me, honestly. And again, like it's not like we have much to talk about with our striker,
Right.
but still, I mean, $8 million is wild to me, man. And they put Brian White behind him on the depth chart. Come on,
Charlotte.
Pochettino.
I understand it's a business move for Charlotte, but if you look at how they've played without him, I mean, they're going to be in big trouble if they don't find somebody to fill that spot.
I hear there's a Greek in Mexico.
Hey, I mean, maybe Gigi is.
They have his discovery rights.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But I mean, Charlotte, like I said, not complaining. A super draft pick, and you're getting $8 million for him. I mean, I don't know if you turn that down if you're any MLS team, but. Question is, of course, what does Charlotte do to replace him? You mentioned Yorgos Yakimakis, Gigi, looking like he is on the outs at in the game at Keys. So who knows? That might be their next striker. Good thing is Charlotte and Atlanta United don't play again in 2026, unless both teams make the playoffs, which is not looking likely for either team at this point. To be honest with you guys. So, actually, no, I'm sorry, July 19th. Well,
coming up, yeah,
he could be there.
That's before the transfer window opens, so even if
transfer window, so he won't play for them.
He would not play in that game.
Exactly. So, yeah, Adraman looks like he is on to Derby County before too long. Jack McGlynn extended through 2028, option for 2029 by the Houston Dynamo. Sounds like, according to Tom Bogert, he got a lot of interest from Europe, European teams. But obviously, Dynamo are very high on him. Traded for him from Philadelphia. That's kind of one of the first big catch-for-player trade moves in this new era of MLS. But, yeah, he is extended from 2028 through 2029. What do you guys think?
I think he's one of those talents that you need to lock down. We talk about the homegrown, I don't know, he's not their homegrown, but the young homegrown talent in MLS. From an Atlanta perspective, we see it. We talked about it last night. I'm sure we'll talk about it again on Wednesday, but these younger guys need to be getting time and significant time. They need to continue to develop. MLS does such a great job. Quite a few teams in MLS do a great job of building guys up from the youth ages to essentially their second squad. And then they hit purgatory because so many teams are afraid to take the risk to use them and get them consistent minutes the way that they need to. And Jack McGlynn, thankfully, hasn't had that problem. He's been in organizations that they see the value, they see the talent, and they've let him have the opportunities. And he's getting rewarded for it. And I think that's great. Keep him in the league. The league is better when you have guys like this that you have the story, right? It's a great thing to see guys like Pulisic come up through an academy or Weston McKennie come up through an academy in MLS and then get shipped off to Europe. That's cool. But MLS has got to start keeping some of these talents around because inevitably he'll be involved with the men's national team, I feel, in some way, shape, or form to a significant degree. And it'll help shut up all the people who think that you have to go play in Europe to be on the men's national team.
No, exactly. Henry?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Houston, it's something that they need to do. And good job for them locking him down. He's been great for them. I mean, 2 goals, 4 assists in MLS play, 16 appearances for a center midfielder. That's some pretty good numbers. And you see him, he's very, very good at getting the ball forward into the final third and just helping this team boost its chance creation. And yeah, it's a great move for them. And they're also trying to push into the playoff spots. I mean, they are actually in a play-in spot, but nobody wants to be in the play-in game. So, and they're one of the, like we just mentioned, they're one of the 4 teams tied on 26 points. And so, yeah, they're just looking to go up a level. They've been on a decent run as of late. And yeah, Jack McGlynn is going to be a significant part of their short-term future, at least. And potentially, I mean, now that we know that he's been extended, potentially a little bit longer.
Yeah, it speaks to just real quick, speaks to the quality of player that McGlynn is. That Pat Onstad from the Dynamo was fielding calls for McGlynn out of Europe. Their European teams looking to bring him on for the summer as they begin their upcoming seasons overseas. And Tom didn't say which teams they are, but I would imagine maybe more than a few of them are perhaps upper end of the championship, lower end of the Premier League. Maybe interest for him in that regard. But yeah, leave him in MLS for a little bit longer and then maximize the investment and possibly sell him. It looks like a move to Europe isn't too far off, potentially in the winter. So this is, a very key back end of the season for Jack McGlynn. Can he continue to develop? Can he continue to grow? Can he continue in this run of form that he's been in for certainly for the Dynamo, but can he continue to stake his claim to the U.S. men's national team, work his way into the World Cup roster next year? I think the sky's the limit, really, for Jack McGlynn. It's a great story coming out of the Philadelphia Academy, getting significant playing time, like you were saying, with Philadelphia as a young player, getting the trade to Houston and continuing to perform well with Houston. So, like I said, sky's the limit, and I feel like this is a move that Houston certainly had to make to continue to keep him in the fold, to keep him growing and evolving as a player. He is going to be a U22, so that's kind of a wrinkle to throw out there, but sounds like a significant raise. And we'll have to see, of course, after the summer transfer window, how much of a raise that is, but it is a significant amount of money, I feel like, more than he's making right now. So good on Jack McGlynn, one of the top young midfielders in MLS, and hopefully more growth for him to come, certainly with the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, absolutely. So then on the other end of that spectrum, final transfer rumor of the day, Rodrigo de Paul to Inter Miami. The big names just allegedly keep floating in. Kevin De Bruyne, that ship seems to have sailed. Of course, it was more to Chicago. But it's just like pick, superstar / World Cup hero and insert name here, and it's going to be linked to Inter Miami at some point.
Right. I don't know. A lot has to happen for that to happen. And again, I've rated Top Boger again. Said, DP slot has to come up, but they don't have anywhere to put him. Like, he suggested Busquets, they have to do something with him. That he gets out of his contract or something like that, but nowhere to put him. I mean, how are you going to bring him in? I guess
the fourth DP slot coming to MLS this summer.
Find a way.
By somebody down.
I don't know how else you would do it. I mean, you're not touching Messi. It would be between Alba and Busquets, and probably Busquets. I think Tom Bogert was talking about potentially him retiring at the end of the season or something like that. That's not confirmed or anything, but that would probably be the easiest way for this to happen. Then again, I mean, you got to think about the salary and he's still at a good point. I mean, he's 31, so you will have him for a few more years. And he's been playing at the top level still. I mean, he's a regular starter with Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a decent ad for Inter Miami if you could find the space for him. And that's the big question, I think. Because I don't doubt that, it's Fabrizio Romano reporting, and again, Rodrigo de Paul, international teammate with Messi, and that's what this whole project is, basically. It's Project Messi.
Right.
And so
it's Messi's team.
I think there's no question about would he, want to sign. I think he does want to sign. It's just a matter of finding out how you go about it and how much is he being paid, how do you balance all that? Because again, he would most certainly have to be a designated player. And they don't have a designated player spot.
I feel like you were just saying, I feel like every player who's been linked with Messi in the past who's still active in MLS.
Didn't we have Modric at one point?
Look at Modric.
We had so many different, every star.
Go down the line. Former Messi
starting to look like
teammates.
A FIFA Ultimate Team or something like that.
Right. I don't know. these are just rumors at this point in leagues. Nothing substantive at this point. I don't know.
It'll happen.
You think it will happen?
It'll happen.
You think it's happening? I don't know. We'll see. Something has to give. I know that. Something has to give.
Something will give. And it probably isn't going to be the thing that you think, which is going to frustrate a lot of people. He'll end up here, guaranteed.
I don't know.
I think it's interesting that they said like they're trying to sign him this summer, but also if not, they'll wait for 2026 for his contract to expire, and then they'll get him as a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we'll see.
Which is that's literally just a negotiation tactic. I mean, because if you've got him saying that he wants to be a part of it, then it's essentially forcing Atletico's hand to say either we sell him now and make something off of him, or we don't, and then we get nothing.
Right.
And that's the power of the buyer in the soccer world.
Yeah.
The power of the Messi.
That's the power of the Beckham too.
Well,
someone say something.
Something.
Screw it.
Hey guys, did you know that's a terrible segue, Henry? But let's talk about the games.
Philadelphia. Oh
yeah.
Well, we got to do our website plug first. Do we want to do that?
All right, we're going to do that. Look. Yes, there you go. ScarvesandSpikes.com. Go visit the website. Check out we've had Club World Cup content. We've had obviously Atlanta United content. Lots of stuff going on over the website. Go join the Discord, patreon.com/ScarvesandSpikes. Starts very cheaply, supports us, helps us out a lot, but you get access to the Discord and lots of other benefits as well. And while you're on the website, you can go visit the shop, get you a shirt and a hat, like we're displaying proudly, Vanna Whiting as we speak.
Yeah.
Or coffee mug, beer glass. It's hot outside. Go get you something cold to drink. Variety of stuff on there. And then come join us again on Wednesday for our Atlanta United show.
Follow us on social media as well. I'm at SH Wright on X, SH Wright on Blue Sky, SidH.soccer on Instagram and Threads. Tyler said ATL Pilgrim, pretty much every social media platform. Henry said Hagita, pretty much on every social media platform. Scarves Alert and Spikes on X, Scarves and Spikes on Threads, Scarves and Spikes on Instagram and Threads, Scarves and Spikes on Facebook. Now we can talk about Nashville.
now
Nashville and Philly. Crazy one.
How did that happen, by the way? Henry, you and I were watching, and Tyler, were you watching that when it happened live? Or,
yeah.
So we were all three watching it, and
you go down in the 63rd minute, and somehow you hang on against the Philadelphia that's been pretty hot this season. I mean, they were leading the Supporters' Shield for a while, and you hold them off.
Just like you drove.
And then right. you think, oh, okay, you know what? Nashville wouldn't be happy with a point, right? Nashville would be pretty content leaving with a point, being a man down. But no. In the 11th minute of stoppage, a penalty for Nashville. Hany Mukhtar steps up. He buries it. You never had a doubt. Does the Diogo Jota
hammers it
celebration.
Through the back of the net, essentially.
Yeah, and
he's the one that drew the penalty too, right?
Yes,
he drew the penalty.
He's very good at that.
Yeah,
very good at that.
So,
but yeah, Nashville gets the 3 points against a Philadelphia that has been really good this season, and that's Nashville continuing to be the big surprise to me in the Eastern Conference, and they are second now in the East on 41 points, just 1 point off of Supporters' Shield leading Cincinnati.
Is Nashville SC? I know what the standings say. Is Nashville SC, guys, the best team in MLS at this point?
No, but they are one of the best. I will give them credit. I think.
Yeah.
BJ Callahan, he comes in late last summer, and he's got essentially an identity crisis. That team was known to be defensively a wall in the beginning, very, very much a wall. And then that's the thing. Then they fell apart. Whatever happened in Leagues Cup, after Leagues Cup, they were not the same game a couple years ago. And it fell apart. And so BJ Callahan comes in and he starts trying to change some things at the end of last season. But I think you've seen a progression throughout 2025 so far of him implementing what he wants. And at the end of the day, it came down to finding somebody besides Hany Mukhtar that can score goals. And like, it's great when he's on, but sometimes he was single-handedly the one doing the job. And if you shut down Hany Mukhtar, you essentially shut the whole team down. He gets Sam Surridge involved a lot more. You've got, games that are close, but you're going out and you have an identity. I mean, Sam Surridge is on. I didn't realize this. What the heck? He's got 16 goals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Golden Boot
and
leader,
2 assists.
Golden Boot leader.
I was sitting there giving him all the praise. I didn't realize it was that much.
Yeah. I mean, but you said it. That's been the problem. Hany Mukhtar's been carrying the load by himself in past seasons. So inevitably, when he wasn't,
I had to do a double take on that, man. I looked over and I was like, "Oh my god!"
But you go back to what you're just saying. Inevitably, when Hany Mukhtar kind of fell off the form that he had when he won MVP, this team was struggling mightily, and ultimately cost Gary Smith his job. Callahan comes in, but now you have Surridge scoring. Finally, I mean, he wasn't a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, but he just wasn't at the level that Nashville needed him to be. Now he is, and then some. And then, of course, you have Hany Mukhtar, who is performing not at MVP levels, but he looks like certainly an MVP level for his club. And it's finally all coming together for Nashville, and it's been a long time coming for them. And inevitably, now that it is, Nashville are right there near the top of the Supporters' Shield race.
Yeah, they are, again, one of the surprises of this season, and there has to be a big credit to BJ Callahan and the whole of their squad, because they found a way to work very well together. Hany Mukhtar and Sam Surridge have formed a very good connection this season, and that's been key to this team's success. And yeah, this is the sky's the limit for them. I think they have to be considered serious Supporters' Shield contenders, MLS Cup contenders. And if I'm not mistaken, and I gotta do a double take on this one. Walker Zimmerman's their other DP. Man, the fact that they have a center back as a DP and they are still popping off like they are, that is some respect.
I mean, you look at their attacking stats, especially. I mean, they're second in expected goals, sixth in goals per match. I mean, they've been giving up. They're actually really good in goals conceded per match at 1.1, number 4 in the entire league. They've had the most penalties awarded. What did I say about Hany Mukhtar? They've had 10. 10. Number 1 in the league. Yeah. But I look at all those stats and I this is not a fluke. They've won 4 of the last 5. They drew that 5th one.
They're unbeaten. That's what 12 in MLS.
12, yeah. I mean, they're a good team. You got to give it to them. You get in, like you said, Henry. You got to give it to BJ Callahan. He came in and he's done what a lot of coaches fail to do, which is come in at the middle of the season or the end of a season and completely reset the culture and identity of a team. Yeah. It's not easy to do. Yeah. Atlanta United fans are looking at it right now and saying, man, that would be really cool, considering our attack is 4 times the cost of Nashville's. But I digress.
What is a culture?
Right.
But it's great. All the credit to BJ Callahan. I think he's done great. He did great, as the interim for the men's national team, even though he just kind of had to float through and do his thing. But I think that was where a lot of people were concerned. They were like, is he just riding the success that he just fell into at the men's national team? And the answer now is no. He's doing very well.
He knows what he's doing. Yeah. And I think we're missing him with the men's national team a little bit, aren't we?
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Real quick, looking at the Union, they're on an 11-match win streak, but now they've lost to the Crew. They've lost in crushing fashion to Nashville SC. Next 5 matches, home against Red Bulls, home against Montreal, at Houston, home against Colorado and Toronto. So they have a great chance to get back on track. These are teams collectively that Union should be able to beat. So even though they've lost back-to-back matches, if I'm Brandon Cardinal, if I'm a Union fan, I'm not concerned. I'm a little obviously disappointed by 2 losses against 2 of the top teams in the league because they'll give you an opportunity to move further up the supporter field standings. But these next 5 teams against, again, opponents that on paper you should have, I'm not going to say no trouble with, but you should be able to beat. I'm not worried, and I think that this is just a blip on the radar for the Union. I think they'll get back on track rather quickly.
Indeed. Well, shall we jump to the freaking what we didn't think was going to be the drunk uncle match of the week?
So I haven't gotten the explanation yet. I may have to watch back. What was it? 17 minutes of stoppage time added on to the back end of this
tweet? Their tweet
yeah, San Diego. Yeah.
Hilarious.
That was something else.
This is Argentine league levels of stupidity with the stoppage time.
I will say San Diego wasn't laughing at the end, but
no.
I mean, what even happened that they needed 17 minutes of stoppage?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's just enough time for Ezekiel Ponce to score twice. So he scores from the spot in the 87th minute. This game really went back and forth. So he scores from the spot, 87th minute, and then in the 10th minute, second half stoppage time, he scores the match winner for Houston. An enormous win for Houston. Getting loss, of course, for San Diego FC. But, I'm looking at San Diego FC in the past 3 matches. They've conceded 11 goals. They conceded 3 to Vancouver, 3 to Dallas, and 10 goals. I'm sorry, 10 goals. They've conceded not my math is off. Whatever. The defense hasn't been
math, but it's all good.
Math is not math. but if you look at their last 3 matches, 2 goals conceded against Minnesota, 3 against Vancouver, 2 against Dallas, 4 against Houston. I mean, are you a little bit worried if you're San Diego FC? You have Chicago coming up, you have TFC, you have Vancouver coming up, Nashville, Kansas City. Are you a little bit concerned that maybe the defense has gotten a little leaky at this point? And I think the answer is no. Obviously, a very disappointing loss at home if you're San Diego, but you have a chance to get back on track with these next few matches here. So they've been, handling exceeding expectations so far, San Diego SC, and I expect that to continue over the next few matches, but not good losses, not a good loss against Houston. If you're San Diego FC position there right now.
I think if you asked Mikey Varas, he would say that he wants this team to shore up its defense a little more because, like you mentioned, it has conceded multiple goals in several of its previous games. But at the same time, yes, if you can reinforce that back line, that is great. But don't sacrifice what you're doing up front.
Yeah.
In its past 4 MLS games, it's scored 3 goals or more, which is a wild rate of just scoring. And it's not against pushover teams either. I mean, Minnesota, they scored 4 on Minnesota. Vancouver, they scored 5 on Vancouver.
Yeah. Which is significant.
Yes. and again, like this team is popping off. It's doing well when it comes to the attack. And the games that it's losing are like this type of game where you're losing 4-3 in the freaking 10th minute of stoppage time for some reason. It's an unfortunate loss, and it's a disappointing one from San Diego's perspective. But I don't think that there needs to be any major change. They've got most of it down right. They're still leading in the West, and you don't lead in the West unless you are a good team, a solid team that knows what they're doing, and they do. And I don't really have any major concerns for them.
No, I don't either. I think they're playing, to me, the most fun soccer in the league right now. I enjoy watching them every time they play. I enjoy it because at minimum it's entertaining, but you talk about identity. You see the identity that they have. And you've got guys that are stepping up and maybe playing better than at least some people thought they would at the beginning of the season.
Milan Olaski.
Yeah.
The super sub with 10
Scored again.
goals.
Ridiculous.
Add him to the
San
striker
Diego
pool.
super sub has more goals than Atlanta's leading goal
Add
scorer.
him to the striker pool, baby.
Yeah, might as well at this point. But it's just crazy. I mean, but that's the thing. This team, I went off on the tangent last night about Atlanta United and not seeing these players have camaraderie, right? And then you look at a team like San Diego, and they're doing what Atlanta fans saw in 2018 with Lamanda and like just these guys coming together and having fun, and like they know what each other want to do, and it's exciting to watch. I love watching them. The game, this particular game, it's frustrating because it's one thing to give up the lead and you end up with a 3-3 draw because of an 87th minute penalty.
Yeah.
But then to basically play another half of soccer because the ref just felt like he wanted to get a little extra cardio in that day, I guess. I don't know. And then you give up the go-ahead goal, right? Like that sucks. That's a crappy way. But at the same time, it doesn't affect anything about how they've played. It just, dude, some of these guys were playing for 115 minutes at that point. Like it's ridiculous. So whatever. I'm not concerned about it.
Back-to-back wins, by the way, for Houston, who are now 8th in the Western Conference. One of those 4 teams, Henry and Tyler, that we were just talking about, are tied on points. So who knows where
I didn't think they'd be there. I think at the beginning of the season, after the first few games, they were like at the bottom of the Western Conference, I think. And I think even on this show, we mentioned that Ben Olsen would potentially be one of the coaches on the chopping block if things didn't improve. But they have improved dramatically, and they're doing well, and they are in the playoff spots and could still go higher as the season progresses. There's still time for them to get out of the play-in game and just get themselves a spot in the playoffs. They're in that scrap along with LAFC and certainly very, very close to San Jose. Granted, LAFC, that is a what do you call it? A tricky number because they have only played 17 games.
Oh yeah, that's
so
true.
It's kind of a fake, like, oh yeah, they're kind of down there, like, and the same thing will be for Miami, which we'll talk about them in a sec. But both of those teams, because they competed in Club World Cup and they missed a few games, you're probably going to see them, shoot up as the season goes on.
I thought you were talking about Toronto leaving after the season. So, well, that's on the table.
That's also a thing, but for this season in particular, like,
right,
it's that playoff bubble. But LAFC looks like they're in that bubble, but they're really kind of not.
No, yeah.
But yeah, Houston, I believe in you a little bit more than I did at the beginning of the season. So
me too.
Nope.
Go on, man. Go off.
Houston had a little bit of a problem in San Diego, but ultimately they won.
Shout out Franco Escobar, who scored.
That was a joke.
Freaking banger.
It was a banger.
That was a joke. You missed. Houston, we have a problem. I was trying to make a joke.
Oh, I totally went over my head, man. I didn't even hear that part.
It went over your head. Get it?
Yeah.
Rockets. Aha.
Anyway, moving on. Miami. Montreal.
We got it back.
Hey, we did. It's all good. We figured it out. Miami, the wrath that would have been upon Atlanta, as Tommy said, but the game was canceled because the Club World Cup moved on to play Montreal. And Montreal got to see Messi.
Finally.
And everything that Messi does.
Messi's still starting out with a howler of a giveaway to Prince Owusu. And you thought, hey, maybe we could see something weird happen in Montreal. But like I said, Tyler, Messi does what he does, has a brace, wins Player of the Match Day. And, I don't think anyone thought that Miami would have something to say about the Supporter Shield race. Tommy, Henry, like you said, my names are mixed up. Just like you said, LAFC at Club World Cup, obviously Miami did too. They've played 17 matches on 32 points. And, you know what? They play, let's see, New England, Nashville, Cincinnati, Red Bulls, and Cincinnati again over the next 5. If they can string a winning streak together, they're right back in the hunt for Supporters Shield. So I don't think anybody thought that Miami wouldn't be a factor. Of course, age and fitness for the Big Four is obviously going to be a big question. But if they can put it together, I mean, this is going to be a team that shoots up the table, especially with so many matches in hand and a classy win against a really opponent that they should have been in the first place in Montreal.
And this was their return to MLS from the Club World Cup, where they faced opposition that was much, much ahead of what are we talking about? Montreal, talking about these teams. they just came from facing
Montreal's no PSG, I'll tell you that.
From facing Palmeiras. Come on, guys. From beating Porto, like it's just another level. And Messi, like you said, he had a bad giveaway at the start of the game, and that happened, but then he locked in and he did what Messi does. And by the way, his second goal, oh
yeah,
where he just dribbled through the entire, he made a Messi of the Montreal defense. But yeah, it was just impressive. And you see again
vintage Messi right there.
Yeah, you see why he is still the best player of all time. And it's great to have him in the league. And, that's why he won MVP. That's why he won Player of the Match Day. Interesting stat, actually. He is the 4th player in MLS history to have at least 3 goal contributions in 3 games in a row. And it's the first time since Thierry Henry in 2012. There's that year coming up again. But yeah, it's Messi is Messi. And he just elevates that team, him and the rest of that group. And that, again, just like we mentioned with LAFC, the numbers that you're seeing with Miami, and I think it's 5th, 6th in the East right now. That's a tricky number because that's going to change. You're going to see this team, if it wins a majority of those games that it still has to make up, 3 or 4 games that it has to make up, and it probably will win several of them. You're going to see them shoot up and potentially even overtake the Shield race. It's a possibility and a genuine one because this team is that good.
So, and speaking of that, I'm going to tie this question into what Scott asked in the chat. But Scott was asking about coaches coming in and changing the culture, talking about Wilfried Nancy. We've discussed Nancy and how amazing he is at length, as we always do. We'll talk about it a little bit in a minute with Stephen Fry as well. But how much of the credit for this entire season so far for Inter Miami do you give to Javier Mascherano?
Very little, because I mean, you have Messi and Suarez. I mean, yes, it takes, not every manager can manage those players together and the personalities, but I don't know. I just feel like they're winning in spite of Mascherano rather than because of Mascherano. And I feel like if you're an MLS fan that knows the game and recognizes the game, you kind of understand that Mascherano is just sort of a figurehead on the sideline for better or for worse. That's just my take. I feel like more than a few people would agree with me, though. Henry, I saw you kind of making a face. I don't know.
I'll say this real quick.
I'm debating.
As a figurehead, it very much to me reminds me of like the king or queen of England. Like, you don't do anything. You just sit there and you reap all the benefits.
I mean, look, it's hard for us from the outside to say how much credit he deserves or what he does or what he doesn't do. I will say this, though. I have seen him on the sidelines really giving instructions to his team, really telling certain players like, okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to take these spaces. I need you to fulfill this role and do this. Yeah. And it works out for the team, right? He gives them the instruction, they do it, things work out, right? And that part is coaching, the team coming together, right? Because Messi Suarez, Busquets, Alba, them alone do not make a soccer team, right? You put them alone against the average MLS team, the average MLS team wins. That's why, the rest of the team matters. And so I would say he probably deserves a little more credit than most people are giving him. But yeah, I mean, you do have, it's a fair question when you have such stellar players and the roster that they have. But I would give Mascherano a little bit more credit. I did not think that this team would be doing as well as it is right now with him in charge, but they actually have been playing good soccer. They have been coming together in very good ways. And even when Messi or Alba or some of these players aren't on the field.
What do you think, Tyler?
I'd give him no credit. I'm not trying to be a hater. I know I sound like a hater, but
I'm not either.
That team is
Henry, I see your point.
Doing whatever Messi wants them to do, period. And I do agree, Henry, with what you're saying. Like some of the adjustments on the sideline, I mean, I think you kind of have to know more detail about like what it is that he's changing and what he's implementing at the training ground and what Messi and his friends are just bringing over. And you got to also consider the fact that these guys have history together. They all think, I think a lot of them in the same ways about training and about the game in general. And so that goes a long way. I've seen nothing as far as from a coaching tactical perspective that makes me feel like he's made the right adjustments in a game or whatever to get the credit for going out and winning a game, if that makes sense. Like, I think the team has gone out and won games because they're just that good. They have attackers that can score goals with their eyes closed. They have, the veterans, and they have really good youth talent as well. The biggest thing is their defense. And I'm not saying that, I don't know off the top of my head, I'm not saying that they don't have any like come from behind victory type situations, but I don't know that I give much credit to Mascherano. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but I just don't see it yet. Now, if he stays on after Messi retires and he continues to have success, hey, I'll give it to him. But after what he did with the Argentine, youth team and seeing how bad they were and like objectively bad, it was really bad. I can't give him much here.
No, I get it. And Miami fans will agree with you too. Miami fans will agree with you. They want him fired, I feel like, some of them earlier in the season. But, I mean, he'll get a lot of credit for what the team does, even though maybe he doesn't deserve it as much. LA won in big way against the Whitecaps.
Like that's how every one of our segments with LA.
The Galaxy variety of LA.
Galaxy. LA, not LAFC. LA 3-0 over Vancouver. That a turning point for the Galaxy guys?
Dude, they played some beautiful soccer in that game. Like, honestly, granted, they've only had 2 wins this season, but this was their best game of the season.
The best one of the year. The best one of the year for the
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Marco Reus showed up finally. Like, he played a very, very good number 10 role. And it seemed like Ricky Puig like possessed his body for that game because he was actually connecting the play very, very well. He was finding, Joseph Paintel, he was finding Gabriel Peck into space, was connecting very well with them. Finally, we were seeing that come out. Mateo Nascimento, the new striker, the heir to Dejan Dovilic, he scores a goal, a very, poacher's dream where it bounces out of Takaoka's hands and he just puts it in the goal like in the second minute of the game. At that point, you've already started very, very well, but the team just kept going and Royce had some very, very good plays, really set the team up for success, and especially with Paintel's first goal where I'm surprised he makes the run into space, receives the lobbed ball from Peck, and then just barely looks over his shoulder to check that Paintel is there, and first touch puts it in his run for him to go and score that goal. That is what a number 10 needs to do. That is what the Galaxy have been missing with Ricky Puig out this whole season.
Yeah.
He will be back very, very soon, and that's going to be great. But it's good to see Royce finally stepping up and doing what this team needs because they've been sorely missing it.
So is this a jumping off point for them, do you think? Is it a turning point?
I think so, for sure.
For the rest of the season?
I think they can string some stuff together. I mean, they have DC at home, and DC is, I mean, we just had the experience of potentially the worst game in MLS history, an enthralling 0-0 draw.
Exactly.
But like this Galaxy team can beat DC, especially if they're at home.
Yeah.
Then they host Austin, which it is decent, but is nothing like amazing. Then you have El Tráfico, and I feel like they have to show up for El Tráfico because they always show up for El Tráfico. So
I think may not make it back to his house if they lose El Tráfico.
Yeah, but yeah, I think at least the next two games you have potential to make this a streak, and then these players have the motivation that I think they realize there is no margin for error anymore. You are in a position where you need to start really winning games in a row and getting a streak going. Because if you don't, there's no chance you make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think as far as it being a jumping off point, I don't know of any team to beat that would be a better one. You beat what has been the best team in the league so far in 2025 by far. And I just think you look back at the way that the Galaxy has played this season, and yes, they've been a bad team, but they've almost been a good team so many times. You know, like they've had so many, even with the injuries in the beginning of the season, there's been moments where you're like, how did you lose this game?
Yeah.
You know, like I go back to early in the year of the first San Diego match, I think it was, and they ended up getting, or maybe it was St. Louis, but they got beat, obviously. But the stats in every way, and I feel like I'm talking about 2023 Atlanta United, the stats in every way were just very beneficial. Like you had at the time, I think it was Gabriel Peck was the only one that wasn't injured and was trying everything he could possibly try to put the team on his back, and it just wasn't working. And that kind of continued throughout the season. But now you went and you put together like a full game. Like you dominated this game in every way. You looked good doing it. It wasn't fluky. It didn't look fluky. That's what you got to look back on and say, all right, hey, man, we can do this now. Yeah. We can do this. And
it was against the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
the best team in the league. If you can do it against them, you can do it against anybody.
No, absolutely. And this is a good momentum boost, I feel like, for the Galaxy. This is a game where, you can string wins together like we were just talking about, especially with Pooch coming back soon. And who knows, this could be a team that could challenge to move up the table and challenge to move past the red playoff line. So very interested to see what the Galaxy do moving forward. And again, I'm not betting against them if I'm an MLS fan, making some significant movement up the table.
I like it. You know what else I like?
MLS.
My favorite competition.
I was going to say MLS Cup, but U.S. Open Cup.
The U.S. Open Cup. My favorite. It's back, finally.
Tuesday night was the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
MLS finals, or MLS making the top 8, or the final 8. Hard to believe. It's been a while since we've had the U.S. Open Cup action, but it's back, guys. It's back. I'm looking forward to it.
Are there any games? Well, just to give you guys the quick rundown. Tuesday, tomorrow night, Minnesota versus Chicago, San Jose versus Austin, which essentially is a matchup that is going to be very important, just in the sense that those teams are 2 points away from each other in the West.
Yeah.
So it gives you a sense of like what could be for the rest of the season, right? So and then Wednesday night we have Philly versus Red Bulls, and then Nashville versus DC.
That's got to be the biggest mismatch.
I feel like if you're Nashville, I mean, you're certainly riding the high after you win against Philadelphia, but you're coming in 12 matches unbeaten in MLS, 14 across all competitions. So, if I'm just go through these matches just one by one, I feel like Nashville, the gulf between DC is just magnificent at this point. Philadelphia Red Bulls, I feel like Philadelphia is going to be a little pissed off after what happened against Nashville, what happened against Columbus, and I feel like they'll factor into what happens with them against Red Bulls, a team that they're really very familiar with right now. Obviously, the short distance between the two teams. Minnesota, Chicago. I feel like Chicago haven't been yet able to put it all together. I feel like Minnesota certainly have proven themselves as one of the better teams in the Western Conference, but not an elite team, but a team that's just been kind of there. They've drawn 7 times in MLS play. So I feel like this could go maybe extra time penalties. I feel like Minnesota will come out with the win. And then San Jose, Austin, I feel like chaos in that one. But my pick is San Jose beating Austin in normal time. I feel like there will be goals in that one for sure between San Jose and Austin. Maybe Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez finds it back in the net again. We'll see.
He has the thing for doing that. Henry, what you got?
Brandon Vasquez versus Joseph Martinez.
Oh, yeah.
What a game.
How far we have fallen.
And knockout soccer.
Yeah. I mean, the magic of the cup, baby. My pick of these games, like my favorite of them, I guess, would be Minnesota, Chicago, just because I feel like both of them have they're in both decent positions. Minnesota's within the top spots in the West. Chicago is still kind of in the playoffs, like scrap in the East, but they have some interesting players and they have put together some very good performances this season. That makes me think that this is going to be potentially a fun game to watch. San Jose, Austin's a really good shout, though. Nashville, DC. My question is, how much rotation will there be?
That too.
Because Nashville has a very big game this weekend against Inter Miami. And so obviously you want your big star, you want Mukhtar, you want Surridge, you want all of your primary starting players to be fully fit as possible going into that game so that you give yourself the biggest chance. I think you have to weigh first of all, how scared you are of DC. Second of all, how, which of the two competitions is more important to you, because you could potentially, with the win in this game, take the lead in Supporters Shield. And so I think you have to think about it and wonder, do you rotate a little bit more in Open Cup and really save yourself for this game against, because if you can beat Miami, now we're talking about some serious, first of all, momentum, but also it puts you in a very, very good position to stay in the lead and take the lead in the Supporters Shield.
Just quickly, Tyler, before you go, I feel like you can maybe afford to rotate just a little bit if you're Nashville. I feel like you certainly have momentum. You have the talent on your team, and certainly a little bit of depth. Maybe your depth can sort of lead you to a win against DC. But if it's getting late and you need a goal, you want to avoid extra time, you want to avoid penalties, maybe you do bring in Hany, maybe you do bring in Surridge to sort of do what they do and, push for a goal. Hopefully, if you them, score a goal and knock DC out of the playoffs. So, by and large, I feel like Nashville certainly can afford to rotate their roster.
Yeah.
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of have to for two reasons. But I think they're playing with such confidence right now that I think they can afford to start off the match with, some of their guys moved, especially the big ones up front. DC not being convincing, really. So you have the confidence of Nashville, DC just not that being a good team. And like you said, if you have to go and bring one of them in or both of them in, cool. That's just a warm-up for the weekend, in the 80th minute or whatever it may be. I think you can confidently, try it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful because this is your easiest route to a piece of silverware that you're going to have.
Yep.
But I think, but this is
But this is way easier, dude.
But I think ultimately, though, like if Nashville can just come out and play their game from the get-go, DC, it will have nothing for them. They will have no response. Even if you get Mateke involved, Nashville's just been too good. So beyond that, though, I mean, I think that's going to be the most intriguing matchup just in terms of like how Nashville comes out. But yeah, San Jose, Austin, that has all the makings of being dumb and drunk. So much fun. I'll take San Jose. I will take Minnesota as well over Chicago because Minnesota tends to take this competition seriously. I'm weirdly going to say Red Bulls over Philly.
I could see that happening. I know I picked Philly, but I could see that happening in extra time. I could see something weird like that. I mean, it's Open Cup. Anything can happen, really. So
you never know. We could be all completely wrong. Even though we picked one of these teams by math,
never happened before.
One of us would be right, and we'll still all be wrong because it's the Open Cup, and that's what happens.
It's the magic of the cup, baby.
Magic of the cup.
That's right, guys. I have a confession.
Oh no!
I did not do my homework.
You did not do.
I didn't do a match to watch. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, that way you get
filibuster for you.
We'll filibuster. Yeah.
What's your match to watch for Match Day 23?
Henry, what do you got for your non-sponsored match to watch?
For me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, when you see this game on the schedule, it has to be the match of the week. Hell is real. FC Cincinnati versus the Columbus Crew. That is Saturday, 7:30. Need I say any more? It is two of the best teams in the league in the Eastern Conference. It's a Supporters Shield leader against Columbus, who is not too far behind. And they have their stars. Talking about a red-hot Evander, who is, just continues to score, continues to find ways to just elevate the Cincinnati team. Kevin Denke, one of the guys in the Golden Boot race that is, very, very high there. And then on the other side, you have a Columbus side that plays very, very good soccer. Diego Rossi in excellent form, very deserved All-Star nomination, by the way. Just a very solid team on that side. And earlier in the year, they had a pretty disappointing 1-1 draw, but now I have a feeling this will be different. I have a feeling that we will see goals galore and that we are going to be in for a very, very fun Hell is Real derby.
I agree.
Yeah.
Tyler, what's yours?
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think that was everybody's first choice. You just beat everybody to the homework. No, I think I like the Inter Miami Nashville match for, again, a lot of the things we talked about with the rotation for the Open Cup for Nashville. But Nashville's on one. And when you're in that level of the Eastern Conference, one thing, no matter who you are, what team you are, one thing that's always going to be kind of the annoying monkey on your shoulder that's poking you all the time is going to be Miami being there. And at any point could get really, really hot and just take over because that's the type of players that they have. This is a perfect opportunity for Nashville to say, nope. We're going to give ourselves a buffer. We're going to bump ourselves up to the very top of the standings, possibly, depending on how Hell is Real goes. And really, really, I think, assert themselves in the league significantly for the first time since they've been in the league. They've had success to a degree, but this would be a massive statement for them. So everything kind of on the line. And you also have both teams dealing with injuries too. So that'll be a factor going forward. But I think this one's going to be fun.
I'm going to go a little off script for mine. I'm going to say Minnesota, San Jose. These are two teams in the Western Conference. Like we mentioned them both earlier, by no means are they elite in MLS. Minnesota third, San Jose sixth. But San Jose will be looking to move up the table even more. Just like I said earlier, 5 points behind Portland for the fourth spot in the East, or in the West, I should say. Minnesota just 2 points out of first in the West. So these are two teams with a lot on the table. San Jose, we already mentioned them. Looks like they're going to open up a DP slot with Hernan Lopez going to Argentinos Juniors. And then Minnesota looking for one of the best seasons in their club's history. Oh, by the way, they have a DP slot available, or they have a U22 slot available. So they have a chance to do some things in this summer transfer window coming up. But I feel like this isn't the sexiest matchup. This isn't a 5-star matchup, certainly the way that Hellas Real will be, certainly the way that Miami Nashville will be. But this is a very good matchup in the Western Conference where both teams have something to play for as it pertains to playoff positioning. If you're San Jose, by the way, you have to be careful because a loss could see you potentially drop below the playoff line. They're by no means safe, especially with the 4 teams below them all 26 points. So I feel like Minnesota, San Jose, again, not the glitziest matchup, but a good matchup out in the Western Conference is mine. 8:30 kickoff on Saturday.
To be fair, though, any game that has the earthquakes is by definition fun because you never know what you're going to get. Like we said, they score an absurd amount of goals, but they also give away a lot at the back. And so you could be in for San Jose just curb stomping someone. You could also be in for them getting curb stomped. It's
Bongi Longwane hat trick against
who knows? Maybe this Joseph guy will score.
Or Joseph hat trick.
How many goals has he ever scored in his career?
Yeah, exactly.
maybe 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to the end of MLS Monday this time around. And obviously we appreciate y'all hanging out with us again. ScarvesandSpikes.com. Go check out the website for Atlanta United, Club World Cup, everything else coverage. Go visit the shop while you're on there. Get you some merch, our hats, shirts, beer glasses, everything else, whole variety of stuff. And go join the Patreon, patreon.com/scarvesandspikes. Get you in the Discord and lots of other benefits. And then Sydney, I can't do the whole like rundown of the social media, but essentially Scarves and Spikes on Twitter. Scarves and Spikes everywhere else. ATL Pilgrim for me everywhere. H.A. Higuita for him everywhere. And Sydney, you've got a couple.
SH Wrights on X. SH Wrights on Blue Sky. Sid H.Soccer on Instagram and Thread. By the way, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on iHeart, Radar Podcast, leave us 5 stars. Leave us a review. Definitely helps us out a lot. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, share on content. Helps us out as we look to grow and do a lot of great stuff.
Indeed.
Costs nothing to do either of those things, by the way. To follow us
true.
or visit our website. Either way.
I think that's it.
I think it do.
It do what it do. It be what it be until it ain't what it ain't.
Oh,
no. Whoa.
Wrong video. Wrong video.
Jump scare me like that.
We're starting the show again, everyone.
He just
round 2.
He just removed me entirely.
No, you're still there.
I'm still here. Yeah.
He shut you up. It's like he just got kidnapped and like taken away.
Only what the 50th time we've done this or something like that.
I know, right? Every episode, there's going to be something different that happens.
All right, it makes it fun.
Yeah.
It does. Wednesday, come join us.
Yes.
Wonderful Wednesday. Will it be a wonderful Wednesday, though? If we're talking about Atlanta United?
The earliest we could have a wonderful Wednesday would be next Wednesday.
Yeah.